What you have, in effect, is the Illuminati families being the genetic representatives on this planet of these serpent gods.
Serpents? Yes, the aliens who came down to Earth long, long ago didn't look like the Queen of England. In fact, they were serpent, lizardy sorts. And even when they interbred, the old reptile bit just wouldn't disappear.
Well, I think the answer to why reptiles is why not. It's just a form through which people express themselves, or entities, consciousness expresses themselves.
The Illuminati cover up their reptilian nature with a human disguise. But occasionally, though, the effort of hiding their slithery selves becomes too much, and the mask drops.
Let me see you as you really are.
People find it difficult to perceive of a two-legged reptilian entity with what we would call an intelligent mind. But I have talked to hundreds and hundreds of people all over the world. I've been to more than 40 countries researching this, who have told me the same basic recurring story of seeing people, often in positions of power, but not always, change from a human into a reptilian form and then go back again. Sometimes it's for a few seconds, sometimes it's for longer.
My name is Mona Kempker. I'm 55 years old. I've been a psychiatric nurse for 30 years. I've lived alone for the last 10 years.
12 years ago, Mona had her first reptilian experience.
In 1994, a reptoid appeared in my living room. 6'3", thin waist, giant muscular legs. This being could kill 5 men with a swat. I was asleep because I worked the night shift. And I woke up, and mere inches in front of my face, there he was. And I was really freaked out. I stood up in my bed screaming. He appeared to me for 6 seconds, and I was standing up in my bed screaming, then he vanished. And I just sat down in my bed, and I started laughing hysterically. It wasn't because I thought it was funny. I was just hysterical. I didn't know who to call. I thought even my own mother would not believe this, you know.
So what's going on? Has Mona seen a reptoid alien, or does she just think she has? Or did the books she read by Ike play their part?
I mean, I don't believe everything I read. I take it all in and try to make my own decisions. But David Icke's on the money. And I don't even know David Icke. I'm just telling you, I'm glad this man is gaining momentum in this country.
I know it sounds crazy.
And then play.
Sometimes Susan.
Pause. And then look. Yeah.
Hello, me reptile. Me your best friend. Okay, let me get it in slow motion.
Ron and Mary and Nebraska are Texas, Florida, Georgia, and Arkansas. The state of Arkansas is reporting a record turnout at this point. Nevada and Nebraska are also showing that Democrats are getting a jump on early voting.
Okay. They broke it because they're like, don't focus in on her. Kissed it over.
There's no hanky-panky whatsoever going on.
I know it sounds crazy.
The reptilian society is very structured, and there is a hierarchy, where we have the elite group, which is the white-winged reptilians. They're very tall, actually have icy blue eyes, and very sleek but powerful bodies. And then it works down all the way, 7 levels in at least the Draco Empire, to a workforce or drone-like reptilians, which are quite small, perhaps 3 to 4 feet high, very brown, scaly skin, not very intelligent, basically do what they are told. In between, you have a military class, you have a spiritual or religious leaders that are very much like we would have bishops and cardinals and popes. They also have an intellectual caste, and then a general mass of people. For all intents and purposes, if you really wanted to know what the Draco Empire hierarchy was like, just look at the Hindu caste system, which was based on that. If you read about Hindu legend and even anything in East Asia, it talks about the Naga, which were the 7-headed reptilians, which came ashore in Asia after their continent sank in the Pacific, and is spoken about in all of the Asian, Southern Asian, and East Asian legends and histories. The 7-headed reptilian, or Naga, really represents the 7 levels of the caste system in the Draco Empire hierarchy. The first time I ever had contact with reptilian beings was when I was working as a teenager, believe it or not, in the Montauk Project between 1970 and 1983. They were what I would consider to be of the military or warrior class, very large, powerful, mean-looking, scary-looking. And you're 13, 14 years old and you see an 8 or 9 foot tall creature with fangs and green and yellow eyes coming at you. It's very scary. They were kind of there as observers, along with observers from the U.S. government, the Israelis, the Russians, Germans, and even British. They were there to watch and exchange information on the programming techniques and the technology that the U.S. government had developed from other alien technologies, as well as what they had discovered from Atlantean technologies, which were discovered underneath the Montauk Point. My concerns about the future, as far as reptilians are concerned, is that the information that will be presented to the public about them will not be accurate. I know that the U.S. government and basically the world government is preparing to unleash a staged alien invasion on the planet, meaning they will use the Blue Beam Project, which is holographic technology, which can be picked up on radar and actually heard and felt by those on the surface, of alien beings, or at least vehicles attacking this planet. And they can even have satellites shoot laser beams or other types of weapons onto the surface to make it look like the Earth is actually being attacked. And people, of course, won't know whether it's true or not, but most people, I feel, will think it's true. Then they will have reptilian beings come and become the savior race, chase away this invading force, which, as we have seen in the last couple of years, there's been meteorites, comets, other space debris, even ELF transmissions that have been bombarding the Earth and passing by the Earth. And scientists say they didn't see it coming, they didn't know where it came from. It'll then be revealed that the attacking race was hurling these objects at the planet as a weapon. And so the reptilians will chase them away. They will be hailed as saviors. Then they will have information saying that human beings on the Earth having reptilian DNA are actually descendants of this savior race. So we are related. They're like the mommy and daddy race of human beings, which in effect is true, but not in the way that it will be presented to the Earth. And then they will have a staged second coming of Christ, who will say that this is his new holy empire and that we should welcome these races. And that is why the Vatican in recent weeks and months has stated that aliens or extraterrestrials are our brothers in Christ, and we should accept them and embrace them. This is all preparation for what the government has in store for humanity.
I know it sounds crazy.
vamos con el caso de Giovanna en Italia, una mujer que quedó embarazada de un supuesto contacto con seres extraterrestres. Y vea usted lo que ocurrió, verdaderamente impactó a toda Europa y muy especialmente a Italia. Más es que afino.
Se piensa que es ciencia ficción, una novela, pero el caso de Giovanna es impresionante por la cantidad de pruebas físicas, su testimonio y sobre todo un feto alienígena. Esta es la historia.
En la serie Misterio de la cadena 1 Mediaset, en julio de este año, se presentó la historia de Giovanna, una joven italiana de la región de Cerdeña, una historia no solo de contacto, sino de abducción. Todo comienza cuando tenía 4 años. Ahora tiene 41 años y habla por primera vez.
Recuerdo que era un disco volador que estaba flotando, de color metálico. No recuerdo cómo llegué adentro de él. Me veo flotando. Alrededor de mí hay 4 criaturas. Yo me veo sin ataduras. Me dicen que no me mueva.
¿Pero cómo te lo dicen?
Me lo dicen telepáticamente. Me dicen que no me mueva, que no me va a pasar nada, que no me van a hacer nada.
¿Qué es lo que iban a hacer?
Principalmente están en la búsqueda de material biológico, tejido, sangre.
Todo esto sería la clásica historia de rapto, de abducción por parte de estos seres. Pero lo interesante es que existen pruebas de estas visitas nocturnas.
Lo he recordado poco a poco.
¿Lo recuerdas por las marcas que tenías?
Sí, por las marcas que traía. La fosforescencia que salía de su cuerpo, que es una sustancia que estaba en toda su piel, que servía para manipular nuestro cuerpo, que servía como sustancia desinfectante, para que ellos no se contagiaran de nosotros y nosotros de ellos.
Al analizarla en laboratorio encontraron que esta sustancia no era natural.
Esto es lo que llamamos una sustancia silicia en base de mica. Esta es una muestra que se tomó en la habitación de Giovanna, que estaba en una tela enrollada en su casa. Hemos visto que no contiene nitrato de fósforo, que de manera natural puede dar la fluorescencia. Es una materia muy particular. Los electrones de esta sustancia están excitados, que nosotros llamamos modificados en su estructura, que da un gran campo magnético. Esto es como si el fósforo lo metiéramos en un acelerador de partículas que Giovanna no tiene posibilidad de hacerlo en su casa.
Narra Giovanna que con la luz hacen que los humanos no nos podamos mover. Quedamos a su disposición y que hay muchas cosas que no ha podido recordar. Pero ¿para qué hacen estos seres este tipo de pruebas con nosotros?
Porque somos una raza biocompatible. Somos la única raza biocompatible. Genéticamente somos la especie que más se acerca a su especie. Estamos ayudando a crear una raza híbrida. Es una raza destinada a la extinción, a menos que nosotros los ayudemos.
Como prueba de que lo que está viviendo es auténtico, tiene videos y fotografías de las naves que la abducen. Los videos son impresionantes. Son nocturnos tomados con su celular, donde se aprecia un disco volador desplazándose en un plano diagonal, con fuerte luz interior y que no se asemeja a nada parecido de la Tierra. Por otro lado, las fotografías son muy claras, bien definidas, con puntos de referencia o acercamientos donde se aprecia que se trata de discos voladores. Para finalizar, pudo fotografiar a uno de estos raptores. Tiene exámenes radiológicos donde presenta pruebas de implantes que tiene en el cerebro. Se determinó que era un objeto sin poderse calificar.
No tengo ninguna cicatriz donde se aprecie por dónde entró el objeto.
La mandaron a hacerse exámenes y el doctor encontró un ritmo cardíaco parecido a un bebé, pero no se veía el bebé. A Giovanna le fue practicado un aborto en su casa al tener complicaciones con el feto, y lo que encontró el médico fue algo espantoso, un híbrido entre humano y otra raza. Se grabó todo el proceso. Las imágenes son fuertes. Se encontró una especie de placenta donde dentro se encontraba el producto, con características humanas. Se observan 2 extremidades superiores y 2 inferiores, el torso, pero la cara parece más a la raza que la está abduciendo.
Un aborto con una malformación. Era un monstruo.
I know it sounds crazy.
50% of all Americans believe the extraterrestrial explanation accounts for these sightings. Up to as many as 90% of Americans believe the government is outright lying. The polls are unambiguous. Year after year, the same thing. In fact, if you could talk anonymously to people, even in Congress, probably 50% of members of Congress already convinced that the extraterrestrial presence explains this phenomena. Disclosure is at hand. It is very close, and the American people need to prepare themselves very soon for an announcement from our government that there is, in fact, an extraterrestrial presence engaging this planet and the human race.
As UFO videographers and investigators around the world continue to document that strange, unidentified craft are navigating in our skies, as well as in outer space, the mass public and even former U.S. presidents appear convinced that UFOs are real. Is it an above top-secret truth that extraterrestrials are observing us from their technologically advanced spaceships?
It's not like any aircraft I've ever seen. Doesn't behave like balloons, didn't look like a blimp. What was it?
It was just weird. The second you see it, you look at it and go, that's not an aircraft. What is that?
While many people still believe that a flying saucer from beyond Earth crashed near Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, the United States Air Force still officially denies it with what they call their final report. In it, they conclude there was no UFO crash, and every eyewitness account of an alien body was actually a crash test dummy used in high-altitude parachute drops.
I don't think the Americans should believe anything that our government says about Roswell. How could we? They denied that it existed for so long, then it was a weather balloon, now it's a super-secret weather balloon. Who knows what it'll be next week?
It is no coincidence that some of the past American commander-in-chiefs seem very interested in UFOs. Before he was president, Jimmy Carter witnessed the flight of a UFO and even reported it to authorities. Subsequent presidents also expressed their concern about visitors from outer space.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Interestingly, after he left the White House, Ronald Reagan confirmed he saw what he believed was an alien craft when he was governor of California from his plane and asked his pilot to follow it until it shot off into space. And when Bill Clinton was president, he publicly stated, quote, "As far as I know, an alien spacecraft did not crash in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. If the U.S. Air Force did recover any alien bodies, they didn't tell me about it either, and I want to know." In the 2008 U.S. presidential election, some candidates seemed very open to the possibility that UFOs exist, and one came forward with his own tale of a close encounter. As our current exploration of Mars continues with NASA rovers, perhaps one day NASA cameras will roll up to this ever-controversial structure known as the Face on Mars, which many believe was created by an advanced ET civilization. Maybe when the mystery of this monument and nearby pyramid structures is solved, we will be closer to proving that alien life does in fact exist, even on planets so close to ours. But those who've chronicled the UFO evidence most to date think the ultimate proof will come from everyday people pointing cameras to the sky.
We, the people, are going to prove that this is truth. Not the scientists, not the authorities, not the military. We, hundreds or thousands of people with our cameras in our hands, are going to be able to produce the evidence that is going to be seen around the world and is going to prove that this is real.
I know it sounds crazy.
The Reptilian stands between 7 and 8 feet tall and, as expected, has the look of a reptile. They too are erect standing bipeds. The head is slightly conical in shape and has two bony ridges riding from the brow across a back-sloping skull. There appears to be no bridge between the eyes. The nasal openings are at the end of a small flattened nose and are described as two small slits that slant upwards in a V formation. Small openings can be seen on the side of their heads, but no ears as such. The eyes contain vertically slit pupils with a flame or an orange-coloured surround. They have wide lipless mouths which contain various types of teeth, including fangs. Some have thin fleshy spines under their chin. Their skin is scaled, usually greenish-brown or light grey in colour and hairless. The scales on their backs, thighs and upper arms are quite large, with hands, abdomen and face being covered with smaller scales, allowing more flexibility. Reptilians' bodies are lean and firm with powerful arms and legs, long arms and 3 fairly long fingers and an opposable thumb. The feet have 3 toes and 1 recessed 4th toe that is toward the back side of the ankle. Claws on the hands and feet are short and blunt. They do not have teeth on their upper torso and there is no navel. How do they behave? The ruling caste of indigenous reptilian consider themselves to be the genuine natives of the earth and humans to be squatters. A group of reptilians is known as a hive, and the race is absolutely void of any care, concern or compassion for human beings. The worker caste can be friendly, as long as they are allowed to speak first. They will answer if you address them, are very cautious beings, and consider most humans to be hostile. They usually seem surprised when they find that most humans are open and trustworthy. The working caste is generally used for physical labour, and they have a no-nonsense, get-back-to-work attitude. They have a different attitude to time than humans. It is not as important to them in the way that it is to us. What do they eat? Meat, insects, and a large variety of plants, including vegetables and fruit. They prefer their meat raw and very fresh, but have learned to enjoy some cooked meats, like rare beefsteak. Unlike the Greys, they eat frequently, and usually carry or send for food during their breaks. The ruling caste is very secretive about their food, preferring to eat in private. They enjoy much of the same food that humans do, and are often seen secretly munching on a freshly found snail. Where do they come from? Earth. Yes, Earth. An ancient extraterrestrial race of reptilians inhabited the Earth many years before man. Would you invite one to meet your mother? You could possibly invite a worker caste home for tea, only if you had established some trust first with it. This would involve being totally subservient and only speaking when spoken to. You would need to warn your mother of the guest's appearance in advance. That is, a 7-foot-tall lizard, and then ensure that she understood not to speak first.
I know it sounds crazy. The real enemy, okay, which is the reptilian beings that David Icke talks about. All right, they are real. Yes, they are real. All right, they have been in mythology and all cultures around the world. All right, and especially in the church, okay, when it talks about the devil. All right, now let's look at the so-called devil. All right, and compare them to the reptilians that David Icke talks about, and that I've experienced myself. Okay. Now, as a child, I heard many stories. Okay. Many stories from my grandparents about the devil. All right. The devil in hell. All right. And I was never really, I never really believed what they told me. Okay, I never took it as being literal, because I was smart enough to know back then that certain things just didn't add up. Okay, and I'm gonna give you an example. the devil in the Bible, okay, that many religions believe, somewhat is true, okay, but it's not. All right. Now, by me growing up in the South, I always had hung around older folks. I was brought up in the church as being Baptist, okay. So I didn't seen and heard a lot of shit. All right. And I don't care what kind of church you go to, if it's Southern Baptist, you're gonna always hear somebody say, "That ain't nothing but the devil." You see what I'm saying? The devil made me do this. The devil made me do that. No, the devil ain't do shit. That was your ass that did that. But now let's look at the devil, okay? Reptilian beings that are alive today, alright, that David Icke talks about and that I know of, actually do live in hell. Okay? But it's not the hell, it's not some mythological place, okay? What's in hell? Alright? Heat. Lots of heat. It's hot. There's lots of lava, rocks, etc., etc. Okay? Let's get this shit straight. Because I need to set the record straight for all the people that get shit all twisted up. In the earth, there is lava. Okay? There is magma, lava. There are beings that live down in the fucking earth. Alright? Alright? So the thing about it is, people twisted shit around saying that hell is just some, place in another dimension. It's right here on earth. Okay? And the reason why the devil lives in hell, that's where he wants to be. That's not where God bound him to be. So you gotta understand, let's look at the science behind reptilians, okay? All reptiles. They don't generate heat like we do because they're not mammals. Alright? So they need a place to stay warm. Okay? Their body don't regulate the temperature like we do. They have to sit in the sun or go someplace warm to regulate their body temperature, okay? If they don't, they'll pass out or either die. So the hell that people speak of in religions is a place where the devil needs to be to survive, okay? That's his domain. Alright? It ain't some place where, where people get sent who've been bad, who've been good. Yes, it's somewhat like that because there are people down there that's slaves, okay? There are people in hell as we know it, okay? As we know it here on earth, but inside the earth, alright? And I'm tired of people getting shit all twisted up. First, you gotta believe they fucking exist, alright? You cannot think that these reptilian beings are just a fucking myth when every culture around the world call them different names. They're the same fucking creatures, but they just call different names. The Nagas, the Chittahuli, okay? Different names. But it's the same fucking species. And they live a long time. Their lifespans are a long... Think about a turtle. It ain't nothing for a turtle to live 75 or 100 years. Okay? We talking about these reptilian beings. These beings that have been here for a long time. Thousands of years. Okay? Some of them are thousands of years old. Okay? They've been here for a long time. They've been here running shit. Alright? Running shit. And the thing about it is they stay undetected. These are fucking masters, okay? They operate on a level you can't even comprehend. Alright? First you gotta understand they fucking exist. Alright? They exist. And you gotta understand how they operate. You shall know them by their deeds. Look at history, okay? let's go back to the Bible. The devil tempted Eve in the garden. Alright? I already explained to you, if you've been watching my videos, you know that God is a group of people. Okay? The Anunnaki, headed by Anu. Alright? The devil tempted Eve. See, you gotta understand that that's how they operate. Alright? Whatever happened in the Garden of Eden, whether if it's a myth or whatever, it goes to show you how they operate. They like cutting deals. You ever heard of making a deal with the devil? Yes, they like cutting deals. They don't force you to do nothing, not initially. Okay? They trick you into doing shit. Just like a lot of people that was tricked into these mortgages in the houses. You know, the mortgage crisis. They end up losing their fucking house. That's how the reptilians operate, okay? These bastards are masters at tricking people, deceiving people, okay? And when that shit don't work, then they got it in for you. They go to war with you. They'll kill you. They'll do any fucking thing. They will kill you using other people. That's how smooth they are. Just the way the U.S. Used the so-called Taliban or whatever to go and get Gaddafi. Alright? They use other people to do their bidding for them. Okay? They don't put it in their own work. They don't get their hands dirty whatsoever. That's why I be telling you white folks. Okay? Stop being dumb. Don't look past the illusions. Okay? We in the same fucking boat. Alright? We in the same boat. You can't possibly be arrogant enough to think that you better than black folks. When you on the same planet, you breathe the same air as black folks. Okay? You ain't been here that long. You still a baby compared to the rest of the nations on the earth that know what the fuck is going on because their ancestors wrote about it. Okay? And you motherfuckers are the ones that's getting screwed over by the reptilians. Alright? They're already screwed over everybody else. You cut deals with them. Eisenhower even warned about this shit, okay? About the military-industrial complex being taken over. Who the fuck took it over? If you running shit already, who took it over? A foreign substance, a foreign beings. And I thought they came from fucking outer space, okay? They came from underground, alright? They came from underground. They said, fuck it, we gonna cut a deal. And we gonna renege on that deal. Now you owe us. You give us this, you give us that. And we'll let you have this over here. Huh? It even goes back to Kennedy. If you listen to that damn speech that he made. He was letting you know what was going on. You white folks ain't listening. You like, fuck it, it's good to be white. We gonna continue to enslave these niggas. As long as I get my piece of the American pie, fuck the rest. I don't care what goes on deep within the government. As long as I see a white face running things, I'm fine. You motherfuckers are dumb if you believe that you run shit on this planet. You do not run shit on this planet. It's the goddamn reptilians that's doing it. Alright? It's the goddamn reptilians that's causing the pain on the earth. And they need to be put down. Immediately. Immediately. You white folks that fucked up the world. Okay? Been tricked into fucking up the world. Fucking up every damn thing. Because you cut deals with these bastards. Okay? All you gotta do is look at black folks and the rest of the world and see. Okay? Like I said, you should know them by their deeds. Alright? And see what the fuck happened to us. All you gotta do is pay attention. Okay? Don't be arrogant to think that you run shit on this planet. You do not. Alright? Even David Icke even tell you that shit. This the black man that's telling you this shit now. Alright? And David Icke ain't no black man. He don't go through the shit I go through. Alright? He ain't went through the shit my ancestors went through. I'm telling you, it's fucking reptilians that run the planet. I'm going to tell you what they look like, okay? They come in different sizes and shapes. But the average one stands tall, alright? Very lean. They have a reptilian type skin. The skin is, some parts of it is snake-like, other parts is like a gator. I live in the territory where there's gators and water moccasins, abundance of gators and water moccasins, so I know what the fuck a reptilian look like, okay? A reptilian species. Alright? And that's the closest thing I can tell you about the skin, alright? And they have a lot of strength. These motherfuckers are strong, alright? They at least have the strength of 5 men, at least. I maybe even say 10. If you remember the movie, the Predator, that's exactly the kind of strength these motherfuckers have, alright? That's the kind of strength they have, but they scary, alright? They are scary. They will avoid conflict, if possible. You back them in a corner somewhere, yes. They will get on you. They will fight. They will do whatever. Some of them even have a tail. Alright? Some of them have a tail, and they can whip that tail and snap both of your fucking legs with one whip. Alright? They're strong. They are very strong. Alright? And they carry a scent to them that me personally, I never smelled in my entire life. Alright? I don't know if it's some kind of pheromone or some shit like that. But these motherfuckers do exist, and they live for a long time. And they have claws also. Alright? They can claw their way in the shit. Like a cat. Not no house cat. Alright? I'm talking about like a fucking tiger. Alright? If you ever go up against one of these motherfuckers, let me break it down to you. Like I said, I live in bayou country, okay? Gators and shit like that. I was always taught, when a gator get on your ass, you go for the eyes. Alright? You go for the eyes. Same thing with these motherfuckers. You go for the eyes, and one of them get on you. It's more than likely it won't happen. Because they some fucking cowards, and they'll go get somebody else. Get one of you to turn on another. They are these most motherfucking evil things.
I know it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy.
Can a regressive entity take over a human body? The answer to that is absolutely yes. And the process is actually very simple. They abduct someone, they bring him to death very slowly, and the moment his last breath, his essence, leaves the body, they replace it with another. Several moments later, that person, that body will rise off the table. It'll be the same physical body, but inside it has a completely different agenda, because now it's a different soul. That technology does exist.
Would you call that a weapon?
Yes, I would.
Would they have the memory of the original body?
Yes, they do. But my understanding is that there's anywhere from 3 to 7 months where there is a transition period. And generally when it happens to a major figure, they will be out of the limelight or be very rarely seen. Okay, when that happens, because they're still adjusting. Now let's talk about that some more. The word is, well, or what some people have said is, well, I saw them turn into a reptilian. I actually saw the reptilian. Now, that's probably very true. Now, that doesn't mean that they're actually a reptilian and they're just, using technology to look like a human being. It's a human body. But you got to remember something. Reptilians are not used to the extremes of emotions. They don't have emotions like we do. Okay, in fact, many of the human races out there don't have the extreme of emotions that we do. So what happens is that if there's a situation where the body gets excited, because it's a human body, That's what it does. It's this huge antenna. When it gets excited, the reptilian soul inside doesn't know how to act. Okay? So he probably either gets frightened or he gets alarmed. And when he does that, because they're extremely powerful souls, okay, you see a projection of themselves. You see the projection of themselves in their auric field. You will see it, okay, because they're not used to the emotions. They don't know how to handle it. And that's part of the transition period. That's what I've been told.
I know it sounds crazy. See, they are like, let's call them, how you see it? You know, this terrain of Earth is a real beautiful place. And it's bright with light, with the sunlight bright. And we got a second sun coming in at the same time too, so it's really bright with light. You feel me? I know it sounds crazy. You need to come back and get your light. That's why I keep telling you to go back inside yourself and grab your light and light your light up. Get out here in the sun and get the sun energy on. Look at me, man. Why I'm always smiling like this? Because I know something you don't know. I'm trying to help you out. Illuminati reptilian oppressors. I hope I put it all together to break it down so simple and saying. I know it sounds crazy. And you're going to believe all the other people out here keep telling you this and that. Oh, just come and do this and that. Yeah, lower your light down to keep eating your bad foods and not getting that sunlight. And not getting that pure energy. And you're going to see what happened to your monkey ass. I know it sounds crazy. I comes like this and I told you I'm a joke with you, have fun with you, but I'm taking the gloves off and knock your ass out. Is you ready for it? You walk around people when you got that light going on, you make them shit and everything else. They can't be around you. They just, ooh, I can't reach the bathroom. You know, every time they see the light coming around you. Because they got them demon entities inside of them. That's why everywhere I go, people are like, oh, my stomach hurt. Oh, they got to reach the bathroom. I make them shit. I bring the evilness out of their ass because these demon spirits have took over so many people's bodies. I know it sounds crazy. And you think I'm just a crazy man. I know it sounds crazy. One day, you'll realize when it's too late who I was that came here to help you. I give it to you blood raw without no cut on it. Nothing but that ether 9. Now sniff it up. That's some good shit. I hope you got it. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you get high with the light. And you think I'm just a crazy man. Because I am the 13th son. I got number 13 love for you. 13 respect, 13 wisdom, 13 mama. Big mama armor. Serious star. Y'all better get some. I'm telling you. 13 love.
A group of students among America's best. To you, we say, we have only completed a beginning. We leave you much that is undone. There are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of truth's protective layers.
The reason for the denial was, number one, they didn't know if these were hostile and could we protect ourselves from them. Didn't want the Soviets to know, so they devised to lie about it.
They not only mutilate domestic animals such as cattle and sheep and even poor cats and dogs, but they also mutilate wild animals. Many times, working with game rangers, I have seen wild animals which have been mutilated by these creatures. And you know what happens? Africa has got scavenger animals and scavenger birds.
Sure, sure.
If an animal has been mutilated by Mandindan, the scavengers such as vultures and hyenas will not touch it.
Same situation. Yeah, same situation here. It is the same situation over here in the United States with the animals who are mutilated. The coyotes won't come near it, and the birds, scavengers, the same thing.
And a person, a human being who has been mutilated by Mandindan always has a small hole in his or her body through which every organ, heart, lungs, intestines, everything appears to have been sucked out. And that person will remain unrotting in the coffin afterwards for many, many months. I've seen this many times.
Fascinating. So we have parallels in animal mutilation to explore, much to talk about. Credo, we're going to let you go now, and what I'd like to do is, on behalf of all our people listening, thank you for getting up so early. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your experiences, and I would like to speak to you again at some point and do some more talk about your heritage and history, if you will.
Yes, sir. I am thankful, sir, and I'm honored. All I'm asking is that people of America, please investigate these things. Don't laugh at them. Don't be overly skeptical.
Indeed. Thank you, Credo Mudwa, very much. Okay, we'll pause and come right back with David Icke. The most extraordinary program, to be sure. Okay, we're back, and David Icke will be with us for the remainder of the program. Videos and David's blockbuster underground bestseller, The Biggest Secret, are available at 1-800-444-2524. So write that number down, 1-800-444-2524. Or you can visit David's website at davidicke.com, and that's spelled I-C-K-E, davidicke.com. David, quite a man. It must have just blown more than one or two of your circuits to run into someone like that who had all that knowledge, which really dovetails with the extraordinary amount of your research.
It is extraordinary, and what he was talking about there was taking us on from so many points that we've been at in terms of, for instance, the greys are the greys. Well, as he's explained on the videos and also tonight, there's a creature inside that apparent exterior which looks very different. They know them as pinky in Africa because they're like a pinky scaled creature inside with the reptilian eyes. And so many efforts. I mean, he indicated it a bit at one point there when he was talking about security firms around him and stuff like this. The efforts in Africa to shut him up are just extraordinary. Once I started talking to him, he was visited by two people who left him a note. And I saw the note, and it said, if you don't shut up revealing this stuff, then your wife's going to die. And his wife did die very suddenly. She had cancer, but it was not meant to, in the normal course of events, to have been that quick. And he showed me, he mentioned it just earlier, he showed me the X-ray of his wife, and there is an extraordinary metallic object in the womb where she had the cancer. And he's been offered money in the last fortnight, and a home, a house in anywhere he wants to name in South Africa. But the deal was he had to never talk to me again and refuse to see me again. So this guy knows things that so many efforts have taken place in Africa in the last few years to stop him revealing.
Well, the general obliteration of African history obviously has in mind covering up all sorts of interesting things.
Yeah, I mean, what makes Credo so controversial and so dangerous to the Illuminati in Africa is that it's not I'm black and all whites are bad stance that he comes from. He points out that the black African bloodlines of the royal bloodlines go back to this same source, claim descendants from these same reptilian gods, and just as in the rest of the world where the aristocratic families and the royal families, those bloodlines in the more modern world have gone into the banking streams, into the political streams and manifested in other ways, so the same as applied to these so-called royal lines of Africa. He gives the example of Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe, who is a royal line, and he points out that again and again, and you'll find this phenomenon all over the world, if there's a rebellion against injustice in Africa, first of all, you'll have something coming from the people, and someone orchestrating that rebellion from the people. And then, as it reaches fruition and a change of power is close to taking place, then suddenly that original instigator will be removed in some way, and in will come someone who takes over and becomes the president or the leader when power changes places. And he says every single time, when you do the genealogy and the history of these people that come in and take over, they go back to the royal lines of the black African people who claim descendants from these gods. And this is starts to explain, again, he talks about bloodline and their obsession with blood and why they need blood. We start to get a bigger picture here of exactly what's going on, and it seems to me that the ruling power in the world that's expanded itself from the ancient world to its global point today are actually the same bloodlines, and those bloodlines are reptilian, and actually we're being controlled by a force that has been unseen over thousands of years, and it's now at last being identified.
The hardest part for most people to accept is the concept that someone like George Bush or Henry Kissinger or the royal family, in fact, are actually lizards and can metamorphose or shapeshift into that lizard format on demand, so to speak. But I don't know if that's the point. I think the point is there's an evil on the planet and it has a genesis somewhere.
Yeah, I understand how people find that hard to believe. I mean, from the perspective of life that we live from cradle to grave, it's absolutely ridiculous from that perspective. But this phenomena is being seen by increasing numbers of people. And when you go back and you read the ancient accounts of, like, the Nagas gods in the Indus Valley culture, they were said to be able to take either human or reptilian form and be able to move between the two. Then you talk to Credo and the African experience, and they tell the same story of the shape-shifting. And you asked an interesting question earlier, and I'm kind of asking the same thing myself. Are they actually manifesting physically in a human form, or are they somehow kidding our minds that they look like that? I can't answer that question yet, but what I'm absolutely convinced of is that this phenomena of reptilian beings operating on another vibration, if you like, another dimension, another vibrational field, are operating through particular bloodlines. And it seems to me that these bloodlines, these crossbreeds that go back to these reptilian gods, actually have a genetic, therefore vibrational compatibility with these beings on this, what I call lower fourth dimensional level, what some people call the lower astral, the place of the demons in folklore. And somehow they can wear these particular bloodline bodies like an overcoat, which means very simply, if you can manipulate the bloodline, the physical expression of this, into a position of power, what you're actually doing is putting these non-three-dimensional beings into those positions of power. But because they look human and because they have different names, we think they're not connected and we think they're human.
Yep. All right, hold on.
There are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there's some things we do not know. But there are are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we do not know.
Open your mind.
Unknown unknowns. We do not know. We know there's some things we do not know.
Their eyes were solid black. Edge to edge, no pupil, no iris, nothing. Just a liquid black pool.
It was like looking into two black holes because you couldn't make eye contact because there was no contact.
Like a reptile ready to attack. Like a reptile.
I do know what that hand is, though, and I know it ain't from around here. But I know that that hand originates from the other side.
There are known knowns.
Like a reptile.
Synthetic of a very advanced nature.
This is head type number 2. It goes with certain bodies, so different heads will match different bodies.
Like a reptile.
The product of cloning.
Like a reptile.
Synthetically engineered DNA.
Like a reptile.
I think God has its purpose, and I wish I could answer that question sometimes. And I keep asking myself, how, when, and why. But the truth is that how and why doesn't even matter anymore. It's here. And some things needed to be brought to the light.
Like a reptile.
And I think sometimes we're forced into situations, into circumstances in which we have to choose to do good by. And everything and everyone is a test. And I think Mr. Sterling is being tested right now by a higher power or being. And I'm forced to come to his rescue because he can rescue himself.
Withering to contemplate about how many people are dying. Africa is imploding.
Africa is a phenomenal continent. That's the point. It's very, very important to the Illuminati. I mean, the British headed there, and for the British, really Illuminati in terms of the powers controlling that invasion. Indeed, the European expansion in general into Africa was Illuminati inspired, and the timescale was brought about by them. And you can follow the different streams of invasions of people from Europe into Africa. Mm-hmm. As you follow the different streams, you can actually show that from the first arrival of the European peoples in the Cape maybe even earlier that, but officially in the Cape, right to the present day, and the ruling families that control that continent, they are connected all the way through. It's an unbroken stream, just the personnel have changed. And when you go to Africa, the idea that that continent cannot feed itself is utterly, utterly ludicrous. And indeed, Africa is just a wonderful example that tells the story of the world in terms of the manipulation. There is no reason for one single person, one single child in that continent to be hungry. No way, no need. But if you had abundance and people in Africa were left to rule themselves and to live their own lives, you would have abundance. Abundance equals choice, choice equals freedom. So what we have all around the world, and Africa is a fantastic example, is the creation of dependency through scarcity. So if you start wars, you destroy the food-growing land. If you fill the food-growing land with transnational corporations growing for the Western markets, etc., you create scarcity. Scarcity equals dependency, dependency equals control, and that's what's going on.
Indeed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll pause.
What has actually happened is that this reptilian group, which Credo calls the Chitahuri, came here, and I think it's fascinating what he says about the fact that they actually were here once and then went away and have come back. This would explain a lot of things about the compatibility between them and the human race in many ways. And they interbred with humanity, creating hybrid bloodlines. And when you follow the genealogy, and I'm really starting to compile some of this genealogy now of the ruling families of the world, and they go back to the ancient royal kings and rulers of the ancient Near and Middle East. Great numbers of them do. And that's what the Sumerian tablets and other ancient accounts say, the crossbreeds between the gods and humanity, that they were the positions they held, the royal ruling power of that area of the world. And now the genealogy is starting to show that the people in control of the world today, in banking, in politics, and etc., all these institutions of power, actually go back to that same group of bloodlines. Mm-hmm. And in effect, the bloodlines of the reptilians are running the planet, and they're the ones that end up in the positions of power. And what's fascinating about what Credo's saying is he was telling me when I was with him a few weeks ago that actually the royal lines of Black Africa fall into this same story.
They're all in
of
it.
Claiming descendants from these gods. Yeah.
They're all in it. Wow, fascinating. Credo, tell us what these reptilians or elder brothers look like, and do they manifest themselves today? Do some people see them today in your world?
Yes, sir, they do. But because we human beings have got a very deadly weakness in us, we are conditioned only to see certain things and not to see others, to see certain shapes and not to see others. And many people seeing something like a reptile man will not be able to think, to realize what they are seeing. Some of them become so rejecting of what they see that they don't see it at all. And this, you can also find this thing amongst animals. There are animals which are capable of seeing certain shapes, but not others. We are like that. Now, these creatures, we are told, stand about 6 feet or 7 feet high.
Yes.
They are very slender in appearance, and their arms and legs are flexible. Where our arms have got knees, their arms and legs they seem to have no joints, but they seem to be made entirely of flexible stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, sir, they have got scaly skin, and they have got 2 eyes or 3 eyes. The warrior, they go into classes. The warrior class has got 2 eyes only, which are very, very terrible, like those of a python, which is why we call them Ntwari, Moon Ntwari, that is a human being python. And The higher class have got 3 eyes, one in the center of their foreheads. The big class have got horns on their heads, or horn-like protuberances, of which there are 2, one above on either side of the head. And the warrior class have got a number of short, upward turning horn-like things on their heads. Now, what I find amazing, sir, is this, that in some films which have been made nowadays, there is a film called Star Wars, the recent one.
Yes, yes.
In that Star Wars film, sir, there is, amongst its characters, there is a Chitauli exactly. He is called Maul, Darth Maul. And that is exactly how a warrior Chitauli looks like, with a large head, very cold eyes, and small horns forming like a crown all around his head. And African wood carvers locked up in museums all over the world are carvings from Africa which show human-like creatures with horns all around their heads.
Fascinating, fascinating. We'll pause and come right back and carry on with Credo Mutwa and David Icke in just a couple minutes. And back with Credo. Credo, when you saw the Reptilian in the Star Wars film, what went through your mind? Did you view it as an intent to make people familiar with this being, or some incredible accident? How did you see it?
You know, sir, I do not understand the traditions of the white people, unfortunately. But I was amazed. This filmmaker, how did he come to know about such a creature? Because exactly as Darth Maul is portrayed in the film, that when my now late wife saw a magazine article on this film, she pointed out, this is a Chitauli. This is one of our elder brothers. I had not noticed it because I don't read much. But when I looked, I was really startled. Right down to the color, the striped red and black. I asked myself, where do these film producers see these creatures? It can't be their imagination.
Credo, the idea of reptilians, some people look at it metaphorically. They see it as a symbol of an evil in men's hearts and minds, a controlling class of humanity. Others, as yourself, say that the reptilians are quite real, three-dimensional, flesh and blood. Do they occupy the same real-time space on this planet as we do? Do they live here with us, or are they from another dimension? How does it work in your heritage and your history?
You mean amongst the African peoples?
Yes.
Say, the Chitauli, the whisperers of the dark law, our elder brothers, are here with us. And please, let nobody think I am crazy when I say this. I'm asking all thinking people to investigate. Do you know, sir, where you will find these beings? As real as you are, you will find them on the edges of deserts, in the Sahel region of Africa. Ask the tribes people there, sir, and even now in this electronic age, they will tell you about half men who are only half, who have got only one arm and one leg, and the other part of their body is invisible. People in South Africa, on the edge of the Kalahari Desert will tell you exactly the same thing. And at one time, I was exploring with a great explorer in South Africa, Mr. Adrian Boschia. When we saw, there were three of us walking through the bush, a tribesman, myself, and Mr. Boschia. And we came across a strange footprint in the loose sand. It was like a footprint of a bird, a large bird, but with 4 toes. And this tribesman screamed and ran away. And Mr. Boschia shouted at him to come back. And because he was guiding us to a hole which we were going to investigate, a cave. And this tribesman said, I'm not coming back. This is a demon which has walked here. Mr. Boschia, who was a disbeliever, said, come on, Ahman, this is a bird that walked here. But the tribesman said, no bird, this is demon. And I agreed with him. The footprint was not that of a bird, any bird that I knew. It was too large to be that of a bird. It was not an ostrich, but a 4-footed reptile-like creature. And Mr. Boschia afterwards said we mustn't even talk about what we had seen. Said, the Chitauli are real, and I have reason to believe that they are destroying Africa and my people as part of a strange strategy of their own. And they can change they can appear as real human beings. They change shapes. And
they can take on the form of a human being. Is it actually a physical form of a human being, or are they somehow telepathically able to project into the people seeing them that they look human?
I don't know, sir, but I can tell you there is something that has been happening for many, many generations in the province of Natal in South Africa.
I've heard of Natal.
There is a church where a strange light is often seen. And if you are a Christian, this light becomes like the Virgin Mary, complete with features. And if you are a Hindu, you see her as a Hindu goddess. And if you are a member of our traditional religions like myself, you see her as the great Earth Mother. So this creature, whatever it is, which has been seen by hundreds of people, shapes itself according to what you believe in.
Understand.
And this phenomenon is very, very common. And here is another thing. Please, people who have been kidnapped by the Mandindan, the gray aliens,
okay, yes, go ahead.
Should have their ancestry checked, because the gray aliens who work for the Chitauli do not just kidnap anybody. They kidnap special people, and in the blood of those people, they look for something. I don't know what it is. For example, I am an abductee myself. I have got injuries on my thighs which no weapon has ever made. I have got a hole in my left thigh which you can put your finger right up to the your thumb right up to the middle. And many people like that who were taken by the Mandindan, when I check into their ancestry, I find that they were descended from chiefs or from noblemen and high officials of a tribe in ancient times. I am sure that all people throughout the world who are kidnapped have a trace of the reptile blood in them. And the Mandindane are looking for this substance to keep their masters alive, because we are told that there are very few of the Chitauli and that they have got problems reproducing, which is why they impregnate earth women. And also, they have sicknesses where their skin comes off at a certain stage, and they need the special blood of special human beings in order to survive. Hence the many kidnappings.
I understand. Okay, we'll pursue this further in just a couple of minutes. David, so we have, again, confirmation of abduction from an African shaman of great stature, one of the only two surviving Sanusis left. He is the official historian of the Zulu nation. The abduction phenomenon does not seem to be something particular to the Western world, once again.
Yeah, I mean, Africa's been forgotten so much in the UFO research community. Again, if it doesn't happen in Europe or North America, then it's not happening. And yet the stories and the information that's in Africa waiting to be discovered is just staggering. For instance, we're still arguing about whether aliens were captured at Roswell. Well, African tribespeople have been finding them, and one of the most amazing things that Credo talks about
hold on right there,
graves
David.
are not the graves.
Right, hold on, we'll come back and pursue that. It's a remarkable program, amazing information for you to consider, and we'll be back. All right, let's go back to Credo here. Credo, we've done many, many programs about the abduction issue with the little grays. It's also...
Say, the Mandindane, the tormentors, the torturers, as they are called amongst my people, are the servants of the Chitauli, the beasts of the Silosengubo, the beasts of the terrible blanket. They are all one and the same race. The Mandindane have no genitals. In other words, they are drones for the Chitauli, who are capable of reproducing. The Mandindane find medicine, so our great teachers tell us, for the Chitauli to keep them alive. For example, the kidnapping of people goes back hundreds of years amongst my people. Zulu warriors, when they went to battle, used to wear a very strange object on the tips of the organs of manhood, a grass cup. This grass cup was not worn for modesty or for protecting the genital. It was worn because when warriors were an army moving through the bush to attack a faraway tribe, they were followed, and some of them were kidnapped and drained of semen by the Mandindane. Now, this grass cup used to endanger the Zulu warrior's life because sometimes when the battle really got hot, the grass cup got between the warrior, came off the tip of the warrior's penis, and it got between his thighs, causing him to fall down and get killed. But they had to wear this thing, which are many of which are still being made by craftsmen today, in order to protect themselves from the Mandindane. My mother was kidnapped in 1918, some years before I was born. And then she was kidnapped again with me as a baby. And she could not account for the several hours of time she had lost. And her father beat her up thinking that she was a liar.
He beat her up thinking she was a liar.
My grandfather beat her up thinking that she had gone to meet her boyfriend, but she had disappeared with me on her back, according to some old women who later told me the story. And she reappeared a few hours later, not knowing where she had been. Now, this phenomenon, sir, is very, very common in Africa and South Africa. And nobody has ever bothered to really research it. And one thing, sir, is this. We human beings must accept that we are not alone in this world. The proof that there were other great civilizations before us is overwhelming. Here in South Africa, for example, a huge rock was cut up by machines, a rock many millions of years old. The scientists wanted to use that stone to line the insides of the jet pipes of guided missiles. And inside this stone, which is called pyrophylline, were found incredible spheres made of metal about the size of a golf ball.
I've seen pictures of them, Credo. They're round, perfectly round spheres, and they have grooves cut along the equator, 2, 3, 4 grooves, perfectly around these metal spheres.
Yes, and what happens if you put one of those metal spheres on a table, say, and watch it for several hours?
Mm-hmm.
It rotates in sympathy with the earth. You can see it actually rotating without a power source, without a source of energy. This must have been technology many, many millions of years ahead of our time.
I was told that those were found in rock that was in excess of 1 billion years old.
Yes, sir. These things are made by intelligent entities.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who doubts that who says that we are the first civilization on this planet, sir, is mad. And the sooner we look into this phenomenon, like thinking people, the better for our own survival. Say, let me tell you one thing, and share this with your listeners, please, and also with Mr. David Icke. Is he there?
I'm here, Credo, yeah.
Say, will you please tell the honorable presenter, say, what did I show you which was found? Do you remember the X-ray I showed you?
Right, yeah.
Of Cecilia's womb, of the strange artifact which was found inside her womb. This artifact killed Cecilia. I should really not be talking so in public, but I'm dedicating this talk to my departed wife. Cecilia was not killed by the cancer that she was suffering from. She died very suddenly. Her blood pressure dropped exactly 3 weeks after I received a death threat threatening her. Say, the Chitawuli or the conspirators, or call them what you will, are active now, and they are interfering even with our private lives. I can tell you things that will shake you, but for which there are witnesses, how I myself am being destabilized even now.
David Icke?
By men, say?
I was going to ask David to comment. Go ahead, Credo, finish.
Say, today in South Africa there are so-called security firms which somehow are connected to bigger security firms in England and elsewhere. These firms supply bodyguards for important people, and some of these bodyguards were given, I was given over to them that they should look after my affairs, to look after my money and so on. But they started interfering with my personal life. They started chasing away wise men and women whom I had gathered around me for many years in order to make a group of wise people which would help our people in South Africa. And also everything that I try to do, everything that I try to create is subtly destroyed by these men. mercenaries interfering with human lives in South Africa, even as we are talking, say, I have a plan to save the rhinos from extinction by offering the Chinese who buy rhino horn as an aphrodisiac dehydrated ostrich eggs, which is a true aphrodisiac. But my plan has been frustrated by some of these men. And, you know, sir, if people doubt that there is a conspiracy, let them tell me, why is Africa being murdered and by whom? If there are no Chitauri, why are there senseless wars ravaging my country? If there are no reptilians, why are we seeing men and women on this planet who seem to be virtual immortals? Should I mention a name?
Go ahead, just for fun.
Say, there are men on this earth who appear to be deathless.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Henry Kissinger is one.
I was going to say, there's certainly some men who seem to be very healthy in their latter years, and Henry Kissinger is certainly one of them, no doubt. David, we have...
Mr. George Bush is another.
Yeah, he looks great. They both do. They're getting some kind of special treatment, or...
You know, sir, we human beings must think very deeply now. We claim to be masters of our own destiny. We are not. We claim to be in charge of our path in life. We are not.
I know it sounds crazy.
Imitated Native Americans. I mean, my grandpa told me a story one time about how when he was hunting, whenever I wasn't even around yet, I'm very young still, and he was hunting here in Oklahoma, and he came across this place where he thought there were badgers. You know, he sat there for most of the morning waiting, expecting to see these badgers come out, and to his surprise, they were little people, and they had clothes and everything, but they, I think they were used to seeing settlers and stuff. He said they had little clothes on like settlers, and this was here in Oklahoma. And then we have multiple stories from South Dakota and all in that area of little people who imitate Native Americans, who have sun dances, who have seen our ceremonial approaches to things, and they have reenacted those. I have multiple stories that have been told to me about how people come across, Native American people come across these campsites and these places while they're hunting and traveling, and they find these little people imitating and dancing, singing songs, you know, drumming, and the stuff that Native Americans do. And these little people were doing it. And, you know, there's another thing I wanted to say was as far as shapeshifters and the trickster and things of that nature, the trickster to most Native Americans is an entity that does take the shape of many, many things which most people consider in society like karma. It's more of like a thing like that. Like if you're a bad person, and then, you know, the trickster will come and he will show you what that feels like. If you're a bully or something, you know, he will come into your life and he will do bad things to you to get you to understand small things, the things you're doing wrong. You know, if you're doing real good and you're real happy, you know, he might come in and do something to you that'll make you feel real bad and real sad. And medicine men, they also possess the power to turn into animals, as Native Americans believe.
Skinwalker, right?
Yeah. The Navajos, I was told by my grandparents that there's a tribe in Canada that speaks the same language as the Navajo Nation in New Mexico. And he told me that the Navajo Nation was a band of those same people that were exiled for practicing what would be, I guess, like black magic, witchcraft, there's another term for it. But I mean, to Native Americans, it's basically witchcraft, and they take the shapes of other animals to get these rituals and ceremonies carried out. And I just wanted to say that we don't really associate them with being the same. I mean, that these little people aren't the trickster, or that the trickster isn't a skinwalker. We classify them. We do believe in them. A lot of Native Americans are very, very superstitious, but we do see them as separate.
Well, very interesting call, Sean. And Philip, I'll tell you from my own experience out here researching Western tribes and chasing skinwalker lore, that the stories of little people it's almost universal. Every indigenous people, every tribe that you can name has stories of their own.
Yeah, and it extends all the way out to the Northeast. So, I mean, there's got to be something to it. I mean, more than just legend. And, we have a place out here called Hawk Rock, and it's a giant megalithic structure shaped in the form of a hawk. And, I mean, there's no doubt about it. It just doesn't appear like a hawk. It is a hawk. And recently, I've been doing studies on it, and there's petroglyphs carved on the side. But this area, Hawk Rock, was a very magical area, and it was supposed to be the home of an ancient medicine man who is, a skinwalker, who was able to change shape into animals. And the legend is that he's still there protecting the place. And of course, we went out there and researched and found a lot of interesting stuff. But the point is that once again, you see the Native American connection with a lot of the paranormal and a lot of dimensional stuff. Recently, in October 15th, I think it was, the New York Times did a story on my research on Hawk Rock. And, the reporter who went out there, tried to say conservative, but he was pretty amazed as to this structure that was just hiding in the woods for just countless centuries, and that there are just so many strange stories around it.
Sean, good call. Appreciate that. Wildcard line, Noreen in Montana. Good morning, Noreen.
Yes, George and Phil. I finally found out something that I've been listening to this program for years, and I finally found it out. On Ian's program this Friday night, and you guys, you different hosts don't listen to each other's programs very much. I wish you would. But anyway, Ian was talking about all the presidents back in time that knew of the UFOs and had dealings with the aliens. Way back even past FDR. And they came up the line of all the different presidents, what Truman knew, and I guess Carter didn't know as much and really didn't care about it. But it was Eisenhower that had made deals with the aliens. And he said that the aliens could abduct our people and probe them and do all this that they do horrible things to in trade for we getting their anti-gravity compulsion that we use.
Yeah, Noreen, that story's been around. Story's been around a long time. Yeah, that's a pretty well-known.
I know it sounds crazy.
BBC recently did a radio documentary in which they exposed that the Great Flood at Lynmouth in 1952, when they had 250 times the rainfall, and it created this massive wave of water that came through the village, killing 35 people, was actually done by the RAF. They called it Operation Cumulus, also Operation Witch Doctor, and it was manipulated on purpose as an experiment on whether manipulation. It's been going on that long and earlier. Here is a US Air Force document, 1996. It describes the artificial creation of floods, hurricanes, droughts and earthquakes, and continues. Weather modification will become a part of domestic and international security and could be done unilaterally. It could have offensive and defensive applications and even be used for deterrence purposes. The ability to generate precipitation, fog, storms on Earth, to modify space weather, and the production of artificial weather all are part of an integrated set of military technologies. Now, of course, most people will now be bloody aware, my God, were we bombarded this year or what, with chemtrails, not contrails which disappear, condensation trails, chemtrails that don't disappear if they come out the back of these bloody aircraft. They stay around and they come out and eventually drop to the earth, and they have strontium, they have aluminium, they have barium. It's acidifying water, it's acidifying the land, and it is causing tremendous impacts on human health. Cumulatively, again, the coal. But it's doing something else. In the HARP patents and specifications, etc., in the description of a researcher describing and summarizing what it said this: dispersed metallic particles such as aluminium, barium and strontium, the main chemical ingredients of chemtrails, or ingredients of chemtrails, may increase the atmosphere's conductivity and therefore enhance HARP's weather modification performance. So it's doing that as well. So where am I going with this? Well, I'm going here. Dr. Richard Day, 1969, the weather will be modified and used as a weapon of war to create drought or famine. A weapon of war against who? In Agenda 21 terms, a weapon of war against the small farmers, landowners and growers of the world, not least in America. We have had in America this massive drought this year, which has devastated small independent farmers and growers. Of course, the big bloody corporations can cope with it, got unlimited bloody funds when they're part of the agenda. And so, also, in 2011 and other times, we've had these extraordinary forests of tornadoes. It was about 300 in a period of 3 days at one point. I think it was 2011. And that, of course, is devastating rural communities and what have you. Creating tornadoes with HARP technology, child's bloody play. And what have we had in this country? Devastating weather and floods, which again has had a massive impact upon small farmers and growers. And you know, there was a report for the European Parliament, a European Parliament committee in the 1990s, about HARP, which was actually quite good because it was saying, hold on a minute, we don't like this. And one of the things it was saying is that HARP technology had the ability to manipulate the jet stream and change weather patterns. Well, when you look at the meteorological explanation for the great deluge in Britain this summer, they say extraordinary things happened to the jet stream. And instead of going away and taking, dropping some and going off into Europe, it basically started doing this, which is why we got the bloody lot.
Is Secret Space War 13. Alien partners tell Putin, quote, "Don't worry, we have got your back." And I guess this story is supposed to be about how Russian President Vladimir Putin is able to act like such a, well, he's able to act like Barack Obama, actually, acting like he's a little dictator, just can go invading any country he damn well feels like it. Well, the reason, apparently, is that these reptilian space aliens, although this guy seems to be a Nordic, not a reptilian. Anyway, Putin is in league with some group of reptilian space aliens who may or may not be called the Dracos. The problem is this article is so horribly written, is such a mishmash of just psychotic gobbledygook that I have no clue what this man is talking about. Anyway, what he does do here, moving down, what is the background? This is what I want. I will put the link on you for you, any of you who want to find out more about this. But here is just the background story to this latest headline for those of you who do not understand what is going on this planet. Let Veterans Today spell it out for you. Okay, let's dive right into this. This new group of alien ETs also has claimed that the Dracos, also known as reptoids from the dark side, hijacked the city of London when first incorporated. These evil and ancient Dracos, using the same technologies which they did in ancient Babylon before being driven out for many centuries, built up and then deployed their main action agents and cutouts, known as Israel and America. Okay. It was under evil anti-human Draco power that the city of London and its main cutout and action agent Israel hijacked America in 1913. This is when they're referring to the Federal Reserve being incorporated in 1913. At that time, meaning 100 years ago, America essentially became a new province of the City of London private central banksters using Draco-based Babylonian money magic. The Dracos, remember, they're also known as the reptoids from the dark side. You've heard me talk about the reptilian space aliens behind every one of these wacko conspiracy theories. The Dracos are believed to be the arch enemies of humankind, actual human parasites that live off of intense human suffering and death. These Dracos are believed to have set up death cults such as Skull and Bones. You know that George W. Bush was part of. Satanic cults and various types of Luciferianism, which completely hijacked the highest levels of Freemasonry. Don't forget the Freemasons. These death cults are designed to dirty up and corrupt all humans, softening folks up to make it easier for their very souls to be snatched from them. The purpose of these occult-like organizations, which are supported by Draco powers, is believed to be part of an overall plan to bring about the eradication and extinction of all humans on Earth incrementally through war, disease, famine, and pestilence. In order to condition up-and-comers to do their dirty work, the Dracos generate the false ideologies of survival of the fittest by the thinning of the herd as delusions. These delusional philosophies trick human leaders into leading their subjects and eventually all humans to their own destruction like lemmings jumping off a cliff. I'm hoping this is explaining this to you. Okay, then it talks about how after the end of World War II, the City of London banksters set up the new phony racial state of Israel to do their dirty work. There you go. Then they go into Holocaust denial, you know, how the Holocaust never happened, that it was just one of the ways that the Zionists in Israel are taking over the planet. Okay. Let's see. So let's get to the bottom of this. All right. Yes, world Zionists are not only attacking the Ukraine to weaken President Putin's new Russia, but are now staging a serious, major internal war to be waged against Americans inside of America by the Department of Homeland Security. And DHS has secret plans to incrementally mass murder up to 80% of all Americans. Okay. And so DHS and those behind it are the true enemy within the gates of America, and all involved at the senior management positions are traitors who deserve to be prosecuted for RICO crimes and treason and sedition, which are capital crimes. Okay, and then it goes back to this story. This is a picture of Putin, I guess, doing some sort of martial arts. Okay, getting back to this week's wacky conspiracy theory. I'm going to read these 3 more paragraphs and wrap this one up and give you the link to this story. Okay. If all of these rumors are true, it can be expected that a space war parity, or not parody, parity, or quid pro quo has been established between America and Russia. If true, this would explain the now apparent reluctance of President Obama and his administration to proceed with more proxy wars for Israel in the Mideast, and now specifically in the Ukraine, which is loaded with extremely valuable resources and is considered to the national security of Putin's new Russia. Bottom line, now here is the grim truth. The grim truth. No matter how good American intel has been about the Russians' secret space war program and the level of advanced back-engineered alien technology which now has been deployed, it is limited. And it is unlikely that the full story has been gained by American intel due to the various levels of secrecy and need to know installed around the Russians' secret space war program. And this goes on.
It's tough to say because we're not dealing with a theory in any sense in which, say, a physicist would recognize the theory. We're dealing with a collection of anecdotes, a certain point of view, a series of hunches. I would say that the most outstanding, the salient points are, first of all, the fossil record, which is simply mystifying. We can't make much sense of the fossil record. It does not sustain any kind of Darwinian prediction that can be intelligently derived from Darwinian theory, and it doesn't seem to sustain anything else as far as I can see. It's a perfectly mystifying record. That's one obvious point. I'm not talking just about the Cambrian explosion. I'm talking about everything that doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the fossil record. Second point, we have never been able in any way theoretically to examine the central Darwinian claim that natural selection and random variation can account for a great deal of complexity. If you look at the history of physics, for example, what did Newton do in the 17th century? He said, well, the planets are being attracted to the sun by a force. It's not any kind of force, it's a inverse square force. And then he went and showed that if you make that assumption, the result will be an orbit that conforms exactly to the observed orbit, say, of the Earth or of Mars. It will be a conic section. And then he proved the converse, that if it's a conic section, the planets must be attracted to a central source by an inverse square law. There is nothing like that in biology, in Darwinian theory. A kind of a canonical demonstration that this mechanism, random variation, natural selection, is adequate to the generation of this level of complexity. From the point of view of the serious sciences, without that kind of a demonstration, one is completely adrift. You have no idea whether the mechanism is adequate for its intended purposes. This is the second point. Third evidential piece of the puzzle. Look, you turn to the serious sciences, you turn to general relativity or quantum mechanics. I can program a computer with the equations of general relativity or with the equations of quantum mechanics, and I can say, all right, what are the consequences? I can actually see the consequences emerge in a simulation. We can't do any of this in biology. And that should prompt any reasonable person to ask, why not? If this is such a simple mechanism, which could easily be programmed on a computer, how come we can't set up a computer and create something of biological-like complexity? How come we cannot see the unfolding of an evolutionary process the way we can see the unfolding of an evolutionary process in physics? It's a very serious question. I've looked at all the genetic algorithms. I'm trying to write a genetic algorithm myself. And the sheer fact is, without a tremendous amount of very special manipulation and ad hoc constraints, the computer is not going to generate anything realistic if it uses Darwinian mechanisms, and it will generate something realistic only if it doesn't use Darwinian mechanisms. This is an important point. 50 years after the computer revolution began, we have a splendid tool for assessing the intelligibility and viability of Darwinian theory. And everything that we know, and I think this is the uniform experience of anyone working in genetic algorithms, indicates these mechanisms will not work. They will not work for their intended purposes. And finally, there's the utter absence of laboratory evidence. I mean, random variation, natural selection, we should be able to start manipulating organisms. When we look at dogs, no matter how far back we go, it's dogs. When we look at bacteria, no matter what we do, they stay bugs. They don't change in their fundamental nature. There seems to be some sort of an inherent species limitation, and we have no good explanation for this in terms of Darwinian theory. We should have far more flexibility, far more plasticity under laboratory conditions than we actually do if Darwinian theory or anything like that were correct. What we see in nature, what we see in the laboratory, is very highly bounded variation, cyclic variation, as for example finch beaks in the Galapagos Island. That's about all we see. Small variations. Why is that if Darwinian theory is correct? These are evidentiary points that I think need to be stressed, need to be examined openly, honestly. And they never are, of course. Never are.
I know it sounds crazy.
We are under attack. That's why we made this.
Our government has been spraying us like bugs, using aluminum, barium, strontium, and other aerosols in order to control the climate.
There are many reasons why this would be so, including weather control and for military supremacy.
Think about it. What is really scary, though, is how slow adults are waking up to the fact that we are being poisoned by the powers that be.
Look at these jets. If contrails start and stop like this, then the engine would be failing and the jet would fall.
Jet trails should be consistent and dissipate very quickly, not stopping and starting.
They should not huff and puff, resembling a paint sprayer. The trail should be dull and consistent.
Satellite and radar should not contain plane trails in ridiculous places, making patterns that turn to cloud cover.
We are not exaggerating when we say that life itself depends on adults doing some basic, easy research about aerosol geoengineering.
And joining forces with the growing movement to protect our planet from decision makers that have left you and I out of the conversation.
So here's how you do the research.
For starters, observe the skies above you.
I think we can all agree that we can hear jets when they fly over.
So why is it that on some days there are lines all over the sky and jet sounds, and other days there are no lines and no jet sounds?
Why is it that during a storm we can hear the jets non-stop, completely opposite the sounds of a clear day?
Commercial jet traffic should be nearly the same day to day. These are the things that are easy to keep track of, making you a researcher.
The other thing is to pick out a jet leaving a trail in the sky and observe the trail over the next 4 or 5 hours.
And observe the expansion and how the trail interacts with other trails.
25 years ago, a person would have to argue that there would be no trails after 4 or 5 hours, but watch and observe.
A second area to research is on line satellite and radar to the west of you, even out over the ocean.
Observe how jet trails in those images spread out like haze by the time those trails are overhead.
Notice how the sky turns from blue to dull, gray, or even silver.
What happened to our blue skies? This is easy to observe, but it does take a commitment to learning the truth.
You can compare sky color, sounds, and jet trail activity day to day to see what should be consistent. Scheduled jet traffic and routes is not what is happening.
The third area of research is patents. There are over 100 geoengineering patents,
many of which disperse aerosol from jets. These patents exactly describe the expanding and lingering jet trails that we see in this video.
These patents exactly describe the metals everyday people, concerned citizens, are finding in rainwater tests.
All of these patents can be found online in multiple places.
Next research is to test your rainwater. It's easy, inexpensive, and instructions are online.
What we are saying isn't crazy.
Scientists say they want to build reflective clouds in exactly this way, a process known as geoengineering, specifically stratospheric aerosol geoengineering.
Arctic scientists monitoring ice melt and methane have declared a planetary emergency.
They are saying an intense full-scale stratospheric aerosol geoengineering campaign is needed immediately to avert a total sea ice melt that could occur as early as summer 2013.
They say that the world must do this immediately.
The point is that it is already being done, and look what that is doing to our weather.
Soil pH, ocean pH,
rainwater, and the unexplained rise in all aluminum-related and suspected-related diseases.
The rainwater tests prove there are dangerous amounts of metals in each breath we take.
This is not rocket science.
So far, man's intellectual control of our planet has fueled what scientists are calling the sixth great extinction.
With species being lost 10,000 times faster than ever seen in the past, including meteor events.
What we see in our skies is that thinking.
Can we afford our leaders and those who control them to be insane?
Who has the right to make us a part of their experiment? We are under attack. Wake up!
It's a pond python is what it's called, I think. They wrestled for hours. The croc got tired, too tired, ended up getting strangled, and then swallowed whole by the enormous snake, who then went and had a bit of a lie down. Apparently that's going to keep him from being hungry for about a month, from what I was reading today. That's quite a dinner.